The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
What time is it?
I knew you'd come.
Delete! 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 Delete!
Bring Freddy Krueger's world, Elm Street. We want to see Bray Wyatt's version of the Boiler Room.
My name is Dario Cueto. My relationship with the wrestlers is very special.
And he's hanging out with Masquerita Sagrada in what looks like his basement. And then his mom shows up with bagel bites. It's glorious.
Oh, that's awesome.
We are scientifically proven to be the best tag team, and not just in NXT, not just in the WWE, but in the entire universe.
You know, the whole NXT thing, he kind of started on his own. I came along, and then, you know, it happened how it did. But this, we started together.
I needed him to get me to that next level, and that's exactly what he did. He helped me get to that next level, and now we're there together. This was the next level. Now we're solidifying our legacy. Because we came to Smackdown, and when we were drafted, as the first tag team drafted, we told everybody that we were the best. We told them, we said that we're going to light a fire under everybody, that we're going to rekindle the tag division. And that's what we did. We brought the best out of everybody, and now this solidifies our journey together as going down as the best tag team, period.
Ladies and gentlemen, wrestling to the max.
And your hosts, Gary Vaughn, Sean Garmer, and Paul Leeser.
Welcome, everybody, to Wrestling to the Max, episode 227, part 2. And boy, do we have an amazing show for you guys. That's right. It is the end of the year awards for W2M tonight. So we're going to give you lots of great rewards, talk about each of these in depth, and kind of give you a little bit of controversial situations amongst ourselves, because we didn't agree on all these awards, but we came to a conclusion. And we also gave all of you the opportunity to vote yourself. So we're going to not only give you our awards, we're going to kind of give you what the group and our Facebook group did, and kind of give you their conclusion to who they deserves, think deserves each different category. So that'll be a lot of fun. We're really looking forward to that. So be, getting ready for that. Plus, we're also going to be jumping into a little bit of Smackdown talk, since we did not actually get a chance to do a separate Smackdown show. We're going to talk about the importance of this week's show. Just a little dab here and there about that. Plus, we're also going to talk a little NXT and their live event that they had aired this week. And, of course, we'll be talking Lucha Underground. And it is kind of an expanded Lucha Underground. We didn't, do last week because Paul wasn't on the show. So we're going to kind of give you a double-decker Lucha Underground. So I'm really looking forward to that. And, of course, we're going to give you our Superstar of the Week, Superstar of the Month, and our Superstar of the Year. That's right. We have come to the conclusion of all of these numbers. All of it broke down, and we actually have one single superstar who gets the entire enchilada. So guess what? It's going to be a blast. This is going to be so much fun. But just to let you guys know, I'm your host, Gary Vaughn. And, of course, with me tonight is Mr. Paul Leeser. Heyo. And Mr. Sean Garmer.
What's up, everybody?
And boy, I can't believe, guys, it's been an entire year. Of course, I just mentioned our Superstar of the Week that we do every week, and the numbers. We just started that number system this year, and it seems to work out pretty well. I think we have a few kinks we may work out next year, but for the most part, to me, it's just like yesterday we were discussing that. Like, yeah, we need to kind of come up with a number system. Yeah, and it's already here. We already have a conclusion of this year. It's been a crazy year. I can't say it's been the best year. I'm not hating on everything, but this year has been a really tough year for a lot of people in my personal life. And I know around you guys too as well. So, hopefully next year is going to be a lot better. We're hoping everybody has a great new year. But man, Paul, any big plans for this New Year's?
I will be working all weekend, so not really.
Oh, man. So you're not going to do anything special New Year's night, pop champagne, do anything fun?
No, I got to open the next day.
Oh, Jesus. What's wrong with them? That's okay. Comic books are very important for everybody. So I understand that want to go get their comic books early in the morning. Trust me, I know how it is because I like to go to the store and all that on New Year's Day. And I'm sure the people at the grocery store hate me because they're like, you're the reason we have to work. So they just want to kill me. But yeah, I mean, I don't even really personally have any huge plans. Sean, I mean, do you do like I do? I mean, a lot of times on New Year's, I just sit down and watch some movies, or I do something I normally don't do, and that's usually, honestly, sit down and watching a good 2 or 3 movies throughout the New Year's night. It's kind of my thing. I'm not a big partier, I guess.
Well, I have to open at 5 a.m. the next morning on New Year's Day, so I won't be doing a whole lot of festivities. Probably what will happen is, I don't know, I might even be with myself on New Year's because if my mom decides to go somewhere, usually we spend it with the family. We were even entertaining the idea of having it here, but, that also requires some expense that not every, you don't always want to incur. So I think she's probably going to wind up going somewhere, and that means I'm going to get stuck by myself at the house. Just, I don't know, probably watching some TV show or playing some game or something until I have to go to bed right after it turns New Year's. So, yeah, that's what sucks when you got to get up at 4 a.m. and make sure you're at the job at 5 a.m. So,
yeah,
we don't get to go, hey, we're hungover, and show up 3 hours later.
Yeah, there you go. And I'm sure they appreciate it if you don't do that for sure. So, but yeah, I mean, it sounds like we're pretty boring, and that's okay. Being boring is not a bad thing. At least we'll be safe.
Yeah, sorry we're not like all going out partying and doing all that stuff.
It was important earlier, I think, in our lives, but I'm 30-something years old now, so I got a family, I got things, other friends who are just like, nah, we're just gonna chill, so all my friends are getting old, I guess, but that's okay. Yeah, we all are. And I get invited. I get invited to go do things, but I don't want to go hang out at a buddy's house and then drive home when all the other people have been drinking tons of alcohol. I just think I just want to stay home, stay safe. So it's okay. But anyway, and there's nothing wrong with drinking alcohol. Just don't drive when you're doing it. Just be safe. But anyway, we've got a lot to do. And we're going to be having a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to these awards. And so we're going to kick this thing off right. We're going to start off by talking about some of these awards. So let's go ahead and do it. And let's go ahead and start with one of the categories that I was probably the most excited about talking about tonight. I know it's probably silly, but it's one that I thought was kind of important this year. And that is Most Entertaining Wrestler of the Year. And looking at this, I mean, there's probably lots of different people that, you would say could be the most entertaining. I love Grado, but not exactly the most entertaining, I think, of all. But we do have one here. And the one that we gave most entertaining to was Broken Matt Hardy. And I think we all agree on this, Paul. I mean, I think it's kind of hard not to say Broken Matt Hardy wasn't the most entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, a guy who was very, very bland at the start of the year, got the TNA World title, and then suddenly turned around, started teaming with his brother again, and this insanity starts spewing out on TNA Impact every week, and you can't help but be mesmerized and completely entertained by their entire... I mean, they've not only taken TNA by storm, they've taken independent wrestling by storm. There are entire shows out there across the United States being booked around Broken Matt Hardy showing up and the whole clan, so that's not only just a TNA thing, it's a big wrestling thing, and I mean, I can't say I haven't been entertained by him all year since that turn.
Yeah, definitely one of these things that totally came out of nowhere. I think when they first did the turn, we were all kind of like, oh god, what is this? You know, this is a crazy thing. Like, well, what is this going on? And then all of a sudden, they do total, final deletion, and it's one of the greatest things in wrestling all year. I mean, let's be honest. When I was sitting here making this award, I was like, there's only probably a couple people that will probably even be in contention for this. And I knew Matt Hardy wasn't going to win any kind of Wrestler of the Year award, even though if you're talking about drawing, Matt Hardy definitely could be in the conversation because he drew people to TNA with all this stuff, with his character and everything else, and of course bringing Jeff and his whole family into it. But as far as in ring work, nobody's going to say that these deletion matches were some of the best wrestling we've seen all year. So I knew they weren't going to win any kind of that award. So I said, hey, let's make a most entertaining award, because if there's anything Matt Hardy was this year, it was entertaining. And I think the only other guy really you could even put near that conversation is how amazing Chris Jericho has been this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whoever thought you could get the list over the way he has, and getting everybody to say "stupid idiot." I mean, just his stuff with Kevin Owens. This has got to be one of his best, if not the best, non-full-time runs he's ever had.
Yeah, I agree. Chris Jericho is one of those guys that, we've seen him do it, time and time again, be, a really, really charismatic. But, I mean, this year, I think the expectations were not real high. We just thought we were just going to get Chris Jericho, and he's kind of way outdid what I ever expected him to. And I was critical of him earlier this year. I really was, because at times I kind of felt like, I just don't care. But, I mean, it just seems like in the last 3 months for sure. I mean, the guy has really been over the top and really entertaining, and he's actually had some better stuff even previous to that too. So I think that this is a guy that definitely deserves some consideration. But for the most part, I think the entire wrestling community it just looks at Broken Matt Hardy as being one of the most exciting. Heck, I mean, if you're getting people to chant delete, delete, delete on Monday Night Raw, you're doing something right, So it's definitely really cool to see that. And just to let everybody know, we are going to get into lots of categories tonight, and we are going to have wrestler, male wrestler, female wrestler of the year. We're also going to get into some other stuff like, announced team of the year. We got plenty of stuff, match of the year. So I just want you guys to know we got so many different categories to get into. And before we move on to another segment, we're going to give you one more award. And I think we should do show of the year. Now, this is really tough. I mean, this is the one that we really kind of had to sit back and debate a little bit, because there were lots of different shows this year that were really in contention for this award. But we kind of broke it down to what we really think deserves it the most, and that is Wrestle Kingdom 10. And guys, that literally was just about a year ago. I mean, that was January 4th of this, 2016. So think about how far away that was. But still, it's fresh in our minds. Still thinking about that. A really great card. Sean, I mean, I think it's deserving of high praise.
Oh yeah, I mean, just the undercard was splendid. You had the 4-way for the junior tag titles, which was really damn good. You had some other matches in there, but what you're going to remember the most out of Wrestle Kingdom 10 is the final 3 matches. I thought the New Beginning match for Ishii and Shibata wound up being better, but that was still freaking great. AJ and Nakamura was great, and then you had, a match of the year contender for Okada and Tanahashi outdoing their Wrestle Kingdom 9 outings, so I mean, you had shows that are definitely in contention there, but man, Wrestle Kingdom 10 was great.
Yeah, I mean, those 3 main events were like the murderer's row of main events all year. And when we're looking at Wrestle Kingdom 11 here just around the corner, they have 4 matches that could easily outdo all of those that they had last year. So, I mean, this is a great show every year that we look forward to. And there's a lot of other great stuff out there, from WWE to Evolve to geez, I'm blanking already. NXT, of course, and Wrestle Kingdom just stayed with us the entire year.
Yeah, and definitely deserving as well, and really a big show that was contention was an NXT Dallas. And Sean and I were there live. It was amazing. I mean, it was just really, really great show. Heck, I mean, we came back and the three of us sat down all together and watched it again. Paul was his first opportunity to watch it with me and Sean, who wanted to come home and watch it again after seeing it live. So it shows you how great that show was. But it's really hard to argue against Wrestle Kingdom 10. I mean, it was really great. And just something that was special. So, and we're looking for big things out of Wrestle Kingdom 11. So it would not surprise me if we don't have this year's Wrestle Kingdom still be the award winner next year in 2017. So that's a couple of awards. We're going to give you more later. But before we do, we're going to let you know that we are going to do some quick hits next. And I didn't do this earlier, but I just want you guys to know, if you want to find more content from Wrestling to the Max, you need to go to the W2M network. That's right. Go subscribe now if you're not already subscribed. That'll get you all our content, everything that we provide you every week. You won't miss a beat. Also, go check out W2Mnet.com. That's the place where you're going to go get lots of great reading material for yourself in the wrestling world, and of course in video games. So I know a lot of you like to cross over into both worlds, so go check that out. We also have a little football over there as well. So lots of great things. It's a spot to chill and get some great information. Besides that,
just to give people a little preview, we probably should start doing this, just because we always say there's content there, but we should let them know that they're what they can get there. We just had a Last Guardian review go up. Yeah, I know this game came out almost a month ago, but we finally got the review there, so you can check it out there. If you want a preview for UFC 207, Jeremy and Samir, the Facing the Pain podcast, which you can also hear in that W2M network as well. Ronda Rousey's coming back. This is her big match. That's basically going to decide if she keeps doing MMA or not, according to many sources. So this is a huge show that's going down later tonight. So you go check them out, previewing that show. And if you got Angel Gonzalez giving you his top 10 wrestling moments of the year. So that goes on with this sort of theme we got on this show. You can go read what Angel thought were some of the top moments of wrestling this year too.
Awesome. So there you go, guys. Some great content on the website. Once again, that's W2Mnet.com. All right, well, let's do some quick hits, guys. It's time for wrestling news.
It's time for wrestling news. Quick hits.
All right, let's start this thing off by talking a little WrestleMania. And I know I'm getting ahead of myself. I know it's right around the corner, though. Think about it. Royal Rumble's right here. I mean, the road to WrestleMania is upon us. But we're getting a little bit of, a few things coming out. We're hearing about some of the, pretty much potential matches and actually a few locks. We're hearing Seth Rollins versus Triple H. We're hearing about Shaquille O'Neal versus Big Show, along with Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg. Some big matches that, pretty much locked up. So saying all that, there's also some other things surrounding this big show. One of those is Kurt Angle. And, he's not apparently, rumored to be a part of that WrestleMania show, but they're apparently thinking about maybe putting him after WrestleMania 33. So that's kind of an important thing to think about when you're talking about, some important things that have been going on, like American Alpha. We've always teased that they'll, be a perfect marriage, maybe. I don't know. At least I have. But, thinking about that, guys, I mean, WrestleMania 33, we will see a lot more of these things maybe coming truer or, maybe get even grayer. But how do you feel about what we're seeing so far? What's all going on? I mean, even this Kurt Angle thing is really interesting to me. I don't even know if that can take place.
Oh, man, when it comes to Kurt Angle, I think this is people's sort of last, big want to see show up again in WWE after he's been gone so long. And I keep going back and forth. I wouldn't mind seeing another match, but at that same time, I really don't. I'm ready for WWE to move on. They just don't seem to be ready to do that. So, I mean, if Kurt wants to come back in and manage American Alpha or something like that, that's fine. If he wants to wrestle one more and retire, that's fine too. But we've seen him a lot recently. He doesn't have a whole ton left in the tank.
Well, I think this is why you have to do it now before it gets to the point where he really doesn't have anything left to give you. I think you can get mileage out of this. You know, you have obviously the American Alpha connection, which they made a bigger deal about the connection on NXT, I think, than they really have on the main roster, And, I mean, to their credit, I think that's good because they really shouldn't be teasing people like that, and then you don't know if Kurt Angle's going to come in at all. Now, this is Kurt Angle talking, and we have had Kurt Angle say these things before, and then WWE kind of goes sour because they don't like when you basically go tell people that, hey, yeah, I'm coming. So, you know, Chris Hero just went through this where he got really mad at, you know, Meltzer and everybody else for reporting that he was going. And we still haven't heard anything about how his medicals are. And the last time he did medicals, Chris Hero, he had problems there too. So it could be a little while before he even goes to NXT. And he's actually already got indie dates with Evolve. So, you know, it could be a little bit. It may not be, you know, it may not be till February or March before we see him there. But, you know, Kurt Angle going, I think, is great for finally getting that last run. You get to be, if he's really going to be part of the WWE 2K18 game, if he's going to go in the Hall of Fame, just like Goldberg, have a couple of matches, 2 or 3 matches, and call it a career. I don't see a problem with it.
Yeah, I don't either. And they've got to do it, you know, soon, like you said.
And the thing with Kurt Angle, too, is we saw in TNA, he doesn't mind putting people over. So it's not going to be one of these, I'm going on a glory run like Goldberg is.
Yeah, I know, I agree with that too. And here's the thing too. I mean, I really feel like you can have him wrestle a few matches and you can still keep him around. You know, maybe have him, like I said, you know, maybe have some affiliation with American Alpha. You know, that's just me. I just think it'd be so fun to see him work with those guys and, you know, just do something special. You know, the really most exciting thing about this whole conversation, I think, too, is if this does take place, this will be on the Monday Night Raw following WrestleMania, which is always so special. At least I would hope that'd be the debut. And I just think that'd be so fun. It would make WrestleMania weekend really round out. You know, and I'm really curious how this WrestleMania is going to turn out. I mean, there's a couple matches on here I think that a lot of people are, you know, kind of looking forward to. One that I'm not sure that people are looking forward to is like, you know, Big Show versus Shaquille O'Neal. That's kind of gimmicky. I know it's going to be silly. Another thing is, you know, they've kind of changed things around. You know, apparently we were hearing that maybe Shane McMahon may be facing, you know, against Brock Lesnar, and they've changed that now, which I think a lot of people may feel better about. But, I mean, are we feeling like this WrestleMania coming up may be a little underwhelming, or do you think we just got to wait? Have they not had an opportunity to really build it up like, you know, we need it to?
I think they're going to count a lot on that Lesnar-Goldberg rematch to do some business. But those other two, you know, Seth and Triple H has a lot going back for it as far as history goes, but they haven't touched on it a lot until recently, which has just been a giant mistake on their part. And you know, Shaq and Big Show will be fun. Big Show and Floyd Mayweather, I actually ended up really enjoying. I thought I was going to hate it. So I'm going in with some open thoughts there. But so far, there's nothing there that really is like, oh my God, WrestleMania is going to be so good. But they haven't named off a lot of the people I'm super interested in, mainly any Smackdown people. So.
Yeah, I think, well, we knew Brock and Goldberg was happening. We knew Seth and Triple H is like a deadlock. They wanted to do it last year, and Seth got hurt. So, barring that again, it seems like that's a deadlock as well. As much as Seth whines about Triple H, and you know, the other one, which I can't remember right. Oh, the Shaq and Big Show's gonna be fun. Like, you know, Big Show's been in a lot of these kind of matches over the years. I don't have a problem with that kind of. That's what WrestleMania is for, you know.
Mm-hmm.
The interesting one to me is, what are you going to do with Undertaker? Is it going to be Cena? Is it going to be You know what? AJ would make a lot of sense as far as storyline goes if they wanted to do that, but they're probably going to go for the bigger match as far as him and Cena. But you know, AJ would take care of him. You know, you would get a great match, and you know, AJ would make sure that Undertaker doesn't get hurt, which is also important. Not that Cena wouldn't, but you know, Cena. Sometimes things happen. The one thing I would caution is there was also rumors going around about Undertaker and Roman Reigns, and sort of doing a Roman Reigns, we better do it now because everybody thinks this is going to be Undertaker's last match, and if we don't do Roman now, he'll never get to have the match with Taker. And to me, honestly, I think this is, again, WWE square pegging Ron Hole. He is not going to be cheered with wrestling The Undertaker. So unless you are going to turn Roman, what in the blue hell does this accomplish? Nothing. It's the same thing you've been trying to do for 2 years now. And you can give me all you want about, oh, they cheered for Roman during Raw. You know why? Because Kevin Owens is such a lame, terrible champion. Why the hell who are you cheering for in that match? Like, it's just, they have booked Kevin Owens so badly that nobody cares anymore when he's wrestling. And just, that's just the long and short of it. So I really hope if you're going to do a match with Undertaker, Roman better be the last person you're thinking about at this point. I'd actually much rather see Roman and Braun Strowman, honestly. I actually would sort of be excited for that match. I wouldn't be excited for Undertaker and Roman.
Yeah, I can't deny that I agree with you on that. I mean, I really would rather see that as well. This whole Roman Reigns thing, I get it. I know what they're trying to do. But once again, it's not going to go over well with us. It's probably not going to go over well with anybody in that crowd unless they're just, you know, really huge Roman Reigns fans, which are probably going to be kids and maybe a few ladies out there who just think he's hot. That's all they care about, you know. So, but, you know, talking about that, you know, there's big, you know, matches that take place at WrestleMania, of course, being the biggest show of the year. And there's a lot of things that kind of run into that. And, you know, we just saw something on Smackdown that kind of made me wonder if, you know, this may be a little too early, even though it's really cool. You know, American Alpha just won the tag titles on SmackDown. And, you know, there are some thoughts that maybe that was a little too early. You know, maybe a big show like WrestleMania would be the time when you give these guys, you know, the underdogs or the guys that have worked really hard. Maybe that's the time when they finally get crowned as champions. Was this too early, or was this right about on time, Paul?
For which one? I'm sorry.
American Alpha as champs. Is this too early, or should they have waited?
I was not a large fan of this decision. And I have to think that injuries and whatnot sort of maybe played a role in maybe fast playing this. But you could have at least saved this to the Rumble. I don't think that's too much to ask for. You can build up something there, let the Wyatts sort of keep costing American Alpha these opportunities until finally you have to have Daniel Bryan or somebody else step in and be like, look, these guys have deserved it outside of your crazy ass shenanigans. So I think what they did here, though, was more about trying to progress the way the Wyatt family are going than what they're doing with American Alpha and the tag team titles. So I think this is sort of a give and take, but at that same time, I really wish they would have slow played out some more of this Wyatt family stuff too. So I'm going to go with no with an asterisk.
I'm going to say no just because I think WWE got into panic mode here. And I also think they got into panic mode with American Alpha in that the Heath Slater Rhino thing they totally killed so that you could have American Alpha be the face team on SmackDown. And then they felt like, okay, well, we got to do something with them because they're not really going anywhere right now on SmackDown. And I feel like, yeah, maybe you do this thing with the Wyatts and Orton, and maybe it doesn't work out for them where the crowd really gets behind American Alpha and they really want them to win. But I don't really see how this really helps them either because, okay, they win, and then I think people were starting to kind of enjoy the Wyatts thing the way it is. And you're kind of sort of fast-tracking that into, okay, well, now you know they're going to start breaking up or something's going to happen here. And who are American Alpha going to left to face? Are you going to do it the other way now where the Wyatts are going to keep going for these titles and they're going to lose, and then that's going to cause the breakup instead of having the Wyatts continuing to be dominant champions and then American Alpha beats them, which would have helped, the other way. But it's just like, okay, well, they already had a long feud with the Usos, and that really didn't do much. So now you're kind of out of options. So I would imagine now you're just going to keep having the Wyatts go for this, and it leads to that breakup, which is fine. But it's still amazing to me during that match how, they were sort of nothing. The fans were kind of lukewarm. All of a sudden, Randy Orton's about to do that RKO, and they go nuts. It's amazing how over he's gotten that move to the point where it doesn't matter what's going on in the match. He starts trying to do that move. Everybody goes crazy.
Yeah, I can understand why it's gone viral. So RKO out of nowhere. But no, I mean, you're right. And Randy Orton is, a legend for a reason. I mean, he's been doing this for a long time, and the RKO is a special, move where some of the other finishers out there right now are not as over, and it's going to take more from those wrestlers to get their moves over compared to what Randy Orton's done. He's done a great job, and it excites people, so that's what they want to see. I don't know, American Alpha. Is this too soon? I kind of feel like it could be, but I'm one of the people out there who always say, save it for the big show, save it for a special moment. And this was a little bit more of a surprise than it was a timing thing for me. I kind of think that it kind of shocked me. It does seem like they're in fast forward mode, like they're trying to hurry and get to something, and maybe they're trying to get to it too quick. So I don't know. I could see some arguments on that, but it did kind of concern me. We're talking about, shows and all that. Let's talk about something else that SmackDown's going to get. They are going to get Money in the Bank this year, and it'll be in June 18th, 2017. And not only that, this is going to be a SmackDown exclusive, guys. So, I mean, I really kind of felt like this was going to be one of those big pay-per-views that both brands could use, but SmackDown having it. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like it's a good choice?
Money in the Bank was always one of those I thought that was better served being shared just because you could do the two cases, and it sort of helped along both shows. And maybe they just think the gimmick's getting tired or whatever, but I mean, you would think with how much they make a big stink about Raw needing all this help being 3 hours, you would make it a Raw show. So it interests me, but anything that goes to SmackDown, I'm always in favor of because, as we'll talk about later, SmackDown is very clearly the better show out of the two.
Yeah, I mean, this was surprising to me. Yeah, just like what Paul said, we've always seen that this has kind of been a dual-branded thing. I wonder if WWE's thinking, okay, well, Raw's going to get Elimination Chamber, so they're already getting a big gimmick this year. Go ahead and let SmackDown have another big gimmick, or perhaps Raw is going to get its own type of thing later. Who knows? But, I'd rather not see like 4 or 5 ladder matches in one show. So perhaps this turns out for the better, honestly.
Yeah, I understand that. And, I'm kind of on the whole shared idea, but I get it. And I understand that WB has, plans in place for each show. And there's a reason they're doing these shows and having, big, huge pay-per-views exclusively to these shows because they want you to tune in. And that's the best way. If you're a big Money in the Bank fan, and you just kind of casually watch Raw. Now you kind of want to watch SmackDown, so at least you can enjoy Money in the Bank. Otherwise, you're not going to see it. It's just going to be out of your wheelhouse if you're just a Raw person. So to me, this is a great idea to keep people interested in both brands and for different reasons. And that's a good thing, and it's really positive. So I'm not upset with it, but I do kind of look at it as a shared pay-per-view because Money in the Bank has always kind of been that. So, let's talk about some new signings. And of course, we'll start this conversation about something we've kind of talked about in the past, but we'll kind of bring up some other stuff too. We've talked about Kyle O'Reilly. His future is in question. We keep hearing that, he could be joining WB this next year. He's actually working without a contract right now, which is kind of interesting. We've also got Jay Lethal sticking around with Ring of Honor. He just signed a 2-year exclusive deal with them, so we know he's not going to be going anywhere. The Young Bucks also signed a 2-year deal to kind of, continue their relationship with the Ring of Honor. So all that's going down, plus Adam Cole is also rumored to possibly be joining WWE. So how do you feel about this whole thing? I mean, Ring of Honor, got some good news with Jay Lethal, but they could be losing a couple more big stars.
The most interesting here is Kyle O'Reilly, their current champion, and the guy who they spent most of 2016 getting over to put in that position is now working without a contract. That's a pretty big deal, especially with the New Japan relationship. Like, what if he does what Elgin did and decides, I'm going to go work without you guys and just sign exclusively with New Japan and not really worry so much about what's happening over here unless we're working joint shows. And that could have big implications as soon as January 4th, whenever O'Reilly defends the championship against Adam Cole and they have to hotshot it back or something like that. You never know. So everybody, I have to think Lethal signing is sort of a direct sort of response and maybe a knee-jerk reaction to, Cole could be leaving and O'Reilly could be leaving, and Lethal's really one of the other guys that got at the top of the card who could hold that belt for him again.
Yeah, I think, Jay Lethal taking the money, you gotta kind of take the money when it's there, because it's not always going to be there for you the older you get. So I guess I don't blame him, but I was one of those saying that, maybe this is time for Jay Lethal to go because he's kind of done everything. I mean, yeah, you can hold the ROH title 50 million more times, but is it really going to do much for you? That's going to be something. It is interesting that I thought Kyle O'Reilly was a total lock. Maybe he's holding out for money. Maybe that's what it is. But, man, I would think Kyle O'Reilly, he's been so loyal to ROH. Why now? But I have said this before, and Paul said this, that the dude is made for Japan. He has gotten himself a nice following there when he goes there for the Best Super Juniors, or when he goes over there for tag matches or whatever. And very much like Mike Logan, he could work there by himself, even without Bobby Fish, if Bobby Fish decides that he wants to stick in ROH. And honestly, if I'm Bobby Fish, I don't know that he has the same prospects as Kyle O'Reilly, so you might want to, make sure you stay in ROH. But, yeah, it's one of these things where I wonder, is he holding out for WWE at all? Or is this just all about money? Or seeing if New Japan will step up and offer him a deal by himself?
Yeah, you're right. And leverage is a big deal in this business. And, seeing what he can get, and see how much he can get, is a huge, part of this. And I think this is going to be interesting how this all kind of lays out. I think all these signings and of course, maybe possible future signings are going to shape what's going to be happening in next year. And, of course, we'll talk about how it happened in 2016. So we could see another trend, another wave of wrestlers jumping ship to WWE or jumping ship to New Japan, and how this is all going to shake down. It's going to be really, really interesting this next year for sure. Talking about signings, though, guys, we know about this big UK tournament coming up. Well, WWE has signed those guys that are going to be a part of the tournament. They signed a 1-year deal worth $20,000 for a year, and this is going to make them, get a chance to have an opportunity to work with WWE and really get this opportunity to be, of course, on a big network as the WWE network is. But the thing is they can't wrestle for any other company like ITV or just on TV in general, like What Culture and shows like that. So, the other places they can go is like ICW. I think Rev Pro may be one. I think they got a few places that they can work here, but that's a big deal. And it's a big commitment for these guys. How do you feel about this? I mean, this is kind of interesting. This all came out.
This is sort of along the lines of what everybody's already thinking, and when this was announced, that it's sort of a knee-jerk response to not only the return of World of Sports on ITV, which has the potential to pull in huge numbers over there in the UK, while WWE is only on Sky, which is a paid channel where ITV is basic cable, essentially. But What Culture is seemingly, as far as pundits around the interwebs are going, believed to be competition in the fact that they have a huge social media presence, they have a whole bunch of money behind them, and these guys could really maybe be something, and so it's another way for WWE to try to pull some talents from them that they can't work there anymore. Interesting to note that Rev Pro and Progress have worked with WWE before on the list, even though they're both pretty big deals over there. ICW has TV and has been on pay-per-view recently, and even ran a show in the same building that WWE Raw ran in a week afterwards. So, kind of interesting at some of the places they can work. There's a bunch of other promotions on this list I'm sure they can work for. IWK, Preston City, Over the Top, stuff like that. So, it's not like these guys are going to be hurting for work anytime soon.
Yeah, I mean, these deals are not, big money, but the thing is they're guaranteed. You're getting paid, and I don't know if they're going to get any extra. I mean, they're probably still going to get money from those promotions themselves when they work there. So you're getting double pay, and you would have to work a ridiculous amount of indie dates to get the money that you're getting from WWE just to basically be on call for them if they ever call you for something, which I don't see why this is such a big deal. I understand from a perspective of, well, this keeps you from being able to sign with somebody else that might offer you more money, but, as being different than, something we're going to talk about in a little bit with Lucha Underground, WWE is a little bit more dependable. You know what you're going to get from WWE, and at the end of the day, you're locked into a 1-year contract. So if WWE decides that this UK thing didn't work, well, after 1 year, okay, guess what? You're back to whatever you were doing, and nothing really hurts you at all. So, I mean, I get it from a perspective of some of these bigger indie wrestlers that probably could make bigger money, being able to be free to go anywhere. But I don't think this is like the big, terrible thing in the world that some people are making it out to be.
Yeah, I understand that for sure. And, looking at this, I mean, I think that, this is going to give these guys a audience that maybe they wouldn't have got other places. And, I know it sounds kind of maybe a little obnoxious. Maybe it does sound a little, maybe like being on a high horse or something like that. But WWE has a big exposure. And, WWE Network is, all, has different parts of the world glued into what they're doing, and maybe they wouldn't have got this, and some of these wrestlers that are going to be in this tournament may not got the same exposure. Now they'll get some exposure, and they'll get the opportunity to maybe impress WWE into giving them full-time contracts. And a lot of these guys want that. A lot of these guys do want to be a part of the WWE, and they don't want to maybe do more indies. Maybe they just want to settle down and kind of get a big payday in their future. So I think that's what what's going to be kind of cool about this is to kind of see those guys who step up and really prove to the WWE universe that they really want to do something and that they're special. So they'll get this opportunity now, despite the fact that, the UK scene is really hot right now and they may not even need WB. Let's jump into a few other things. I do want to touch on the thing you were just talking about, Sean, and that is this Lucha Underground situation and the fact that we do see, some of their current talent upset about the way things are going. Of course, them filming a lot of different shows, and it's going to take a while to do all that. They've got a few things to gripe about. So why don't you kind of give us some more information on this Lucha Underground situation?
Well, I mean, I think what it is that we talked about a little bit about this last week, but it's basically, the Lucha Underground guys are stuck. They can't, they can work indie dates, but now they didn't have any indie dates for 3 months, in February, March, and April, because they thought they were going to be taping. And now they have to go find bookings, which kind of, it isn't that hard. I mean, there's going to be a lot of these guys and girls are known names, so they'll get indie bookings, but it's still that whole feeling of, and I don't blame them at this point. You would think Season 3 Lucha Underground is supposed to be a bigger deal than they are. And they're not. Their ratings are actually down from Season 2. And like I've said this a bunch of times, I'm not watching it because just sometimes I just don't. For one, I'm so behind that I feel like I'm going to be lost if I try to start watching it now. So I feel like I'm just going to wait till I have a certain time frame where, okay, I'm just going to catch up on Lucha Underground. But, there are a lot of people that people that were watching it before that I don't hear them talking about it at all. The buzz on the internet doesn't seem to be anywhere near what it was Season 1 or Season 2. So, that's all telling. And not having the Spanish station, which I still don't understand. Like, why wouldn't you want this soap opera? They have novellas that have wrestling in it, but it's not wrestling all the time. It's just wrestling is kind of a part of it, or whatever. It's so weird that they wouldn't want. Perhaps maybe it's the violence or whatever it is. I don't know, but it's weird to me that they can't find a Spanish station that wants them. But the thing is too, like, they can't change channels because O Reilly pays a lot of this. This is Robert Rodriguez's channel. They're not going to just go on another channel in America because they might pay them more money. They're going to be on O Reilly, and this is going to always limit how many people can watch it and everything else. Yeah, they have the iTunes deal, but not everybody wants to use iTunes. I don't know what happened to that Netflix deal. That kind of seems to have fallen through for them too, which would have been more money in the pockets of everybody. So, it's obviously it's a regular check. You can't complain about that, but this does kind of have to be disheartening at times when you see these signs of, man, I could be somewhere else working right now. Especially the way WWE's signing people and the way ROH is looking for talent. Like, imagine what money they could be getting.
I think the only thing this really sucks for is that, one, shifting schedules can be a pain in the ass. And like you said, most of these guys, they're bigger names on the indie circuit. It's not going to be hard for them to find work. But then again, at the same time, they might have missed spots at some of these shows or something like that, The only thing this really affects is them maybe being signed by a bigger company, like a Ring of Honor or somebody else with TV, essentially. Ring of Honor, WWE, TNA, one of those three, right? And Ring of Honor might be hurting for some talent now, so that there could be some signings to be had there for some money. And, of course, TNA seems to be on the up and up from the way things are going now. So there could be spots to be had there. And, of course, like Sean just said, WWE's hiring a storm, but you don't know how long that's going to last. So I wouldn't hang my hat on that. But certainly, I agree that people aren't talking about Lucha Underground as much, but this season, I think, has been the best so far. Not only wrestling-wise, but just story-wise. You're starting to get the entire gist of the overall narrative this season, and it's big and massive and epic and something that you should be watching if you're into any of this that's going on over here at all. So, I really hope a lot of these guys stay because they're getting some exposure and more so than anything else they might be getting. But they've also built, some of these guys have built quite a big Ricochet. Jeff Cobb is starting to get out there too. He started working Evolve recently. So you have a lot of these guys developing big names that maybe want to try their hands somewhere else. And it sucks for them, yeah, but I'm kind of partial to the Lucha Underground show, so.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand the wrestler's point of view on this, and I get that, and, it's tough because, once again, I mean, Lucha Underground is so great, and these guys have a great opportunity being a part of that show, yet they are limited on what they can do, and they're being affected in a major way. So it's kind of tough. I mean, you got to be in those guys' shoes, and I get the gripes, but then again, I understand Lucha Underground's point. I really do. I mean, they've got to keep their talent. They got to do business the way they do it because of the fact that, they air their shows later. It's not, like WWE where they have their shows come out, pretty much live or right after they film them, they come out. No, they have to tape a lot of shows in advance, and that, of course, does keep their talent at bay, but it's the only way they can survive. And so it's kind of a catch-22 situation. It really, really is. And I hope only, for the best for Lucha Underground. I really do. And I hope some of these guys, can find that comfort zone and find what's most comfortable for them, whether it be working with Lucha Underground, part-time or doing it all and just sticking around with it. I don't know, but that's their choice. Let's go ahead and jump into some rapid hits real quick, guys. We got a lot more to do on the show. Let's start by Yoji Nagata signed a 1-year deal with New Japan.
I mean, great for him. It's getting about that time of year where New Japan starts re-signing all these guys to deals. So, he's also getting up there in age, so you have to wonder if retirement might be coming around for him soon, too. But he's still working at a pretty high level, so sure, we'll just keep seeing this year-to-year signing for him.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's working in the dojo now, all that. So he's been loyal to New Japan for a long time. He's not going anywhere.
John Yurnett, Mr. 450, or if you know him on WWE television, it is Mustafa Ali. He tore his knee and blew it out on the first part of 205 Live.
He's the guy that wrestled Mustafa Ali on 205 Live.
Oh, I thought that was his other name.
No. Yeah, John Yurnett is the name that they used on 205 Live because I guess they don't want him to be known as Mr. 450. I don't know why. But, yeah, I don't know if you watched it, Gary, but you could tell immediately he got hurt. He was moving, and then all of a sudden he wasn't.
Yeah. Oh, wow. See, I had not seen it yet. I missed this episode. I need to watch it. Wow, that's sad.
Credit to him, though. He still finished the match.
I think he had just recovered from an injury, too, which really makes this depressing. Because he wrestles Wrestle Circus here in Texas very often, and I know he had to miss the show here in Dallas because of an injury. So I think he just got over something, too, so this really sucks.
Oh, man. Have we seen him on the Cruiserweight Classic? I just don't remember this guy, John Yurnett.
He was an alternate on there. He wasn't actually on the show.
Okay, so that's why I don't recognize the name. Okay. But that's just sad. That's a big bummer. One last thing we're going to jump into real quick. I'm going to try to slaughter this name as much as possible. But there's a name of a building that Noah's been using called Defer Ariaka. I'm just going to say that. But anyway, it's closing. And this is kind of a bummer. What do you think about this?
This, I'm assuming, is part of the cleanup and the whole reorganization at the corporate level for Noah since the buyout. They're moving headquarters to a different part of Tokyo, if I'm not mistaken. But this this is still where they have their dojo. I guess that's closing down. I don't know where they're going to start training talent if they're going to start doing that again. So certainly depressing to hear about that.
Yeah, I mean, this has historical significance for Noah. This is where they basically built this arena for Noah's offices and for them to kind of get things going as their home base there. And, depending on who you read, whether it's 2017 or 2018, This is saying June 2017. Coming from Inohito and Melter as well in the Observer talking about this. Just, it kind of sucks to hear that they're going to lose their home base and everything, but sometimes you gotta cut costs and say, look, we can't afford this anymore. Let's move somewhere else and kind of start fresh. And kind of sometimes you've got to let that old thing go to say, okay, this is a new Noah. This is a new day for us. And that's kind of what they're doing. They had that whole spat with New Japan now. And they're having to move up guys from the juniors to kind of get things going there too. And perhaps we're going to see a resurgence in Noah, where they are going to go back to being that bigger company in Japan.
Yeah, and best wishes to Noah. We'll have to see how that all works out for him. But things have to change sometimes, even though some people don't like him, and I'm usually that guy. I don't like change. All right, well, that is quick hits for you this week. We are going to move on from here, and before we talk some Smackdown, let's give you guys a couple more W2M awards. Let's go ahead and start by talking about Commentary Team of the Year. And the Commentary Team of the Year we chose was Mauro Ranallo and Daniel Bryan. And that's, of course, from the Cruiserweight Classic. We had a lot of other commentary teams to choose from here, but I think we Sean came to agreement that these two guys really did a great job this year.
Yeah, I mean, they were terrific in the Cruiserweight Classic. I mean, Mauro Ranallo is great. He's great on SmackDown. He's great on everything he does. Daniel Bryan was he was kind of thrust into this role, and at first it was awkward and everything else, but he got used to it, and it became that, like, he's the fan we're seeing things through his eyes as we watch the show, and it was actually, like, really entertaining to hear him give you his expertise, and also just kind of when he gets excited about things and everything else. So, I really enjoyed it, and I mean, I enjoy the 205 Live commentary as well, but when it got better adding Austin Aries, but they haven't been around long enough for me to say Corey Graves, Austin Aries, Mauro Ranallo team gets it for this entire year.
Yeah, I've enjoyed what we've gotten on 205 Live so far, but I'm right there with you. I don't think they've gotten enough real airtime to really say they've been the best. I loved Ranallo and Daniel Bryan during the Cruiserweight Classic. That was half the reason, outside of the great wrestling, to watch that show, is that you got not only in-depth analysis on the match, but certainly with Daniel Bryan there and Mauro, who have pretty much either been around the industry or have done so much research into the industry that they know these guys and they give you all the background and create. They're 35% of the reason why you created stories on there. Especially in the Brian Kendricks case,
Yeah, you're right. And, it's quite interesting, to see how that all, has shaken down with them. And, I think that, Mauro Ranallo is one of the best additions that WWE's made. So, by having him a part of this, it's great. Let's move on, though. Let's talk about another category here. Let's talk about Breakout Wrestler of the Year. And this is one that's kind of controversial. I'm kind of looking forward to kind of hearing us talk about this. Let's go ahead and say it. It is, of course, we chose Will Ospreay. And this is a name that, a lot of people have heard in the world of wrestling this year. And, he's been a big deal. We've even seen Paul Heyman, gush over him too. So it's definitely, I think, a guy that's credible in this category. Paul, kind of give you your thoughts on this.
Yeah, we talked about a couple people for this one. I landed on Will Ospreay simply because when this year started, I didn't have a clue who this guy was. By the end of the year, not only myself and the entire internet, but almost what feels like the entire wrestling community can't shut up about this guy. You can't go a day without seeing him. He's made so many newsworthy events this year. And, absolutely just crushed it this year.
What award are we talking? Sorry.
Breakout.
Superstar.
Break. We wound up going with Ospreay, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Your choice was a little different though. You were kind of voting differently.
Yeah, I mean the way I think it's the thing is it's harder when you're trying to get a group of people that aren't familiar with everybody, okay, to try to vote for a breakout star of the year or whatnot. So I kind of made it easier on the W2M group, which I kind of feel like we've shortchanged the group. We haven't been able to talk about who won from there or whatever, but we'll get back on this in a second. But so the reason I did it this way, where I kind of did it from you don't have to be like a rookie of the year or a total unknown or whatever. You could also be like at the bottom of your promotion and you go from the bottom to the top. And that's kind of why I chose Kenny Omega, just because he started from losing a juniors title match, the junior title match at Wrestle Kingdom, and now he's going to be main eventing Wrestle Kingdom 11, winning the G1, holding the IC title, beating Tanahashi during the year. I mean, those are great accomplishments. Will Ospreay signing with New Japan, having the big match with Ricochet that kind of put him on the map for a lot of different people, and then also having great matches throughout the year as well. Having that rivalry of Marty Scurll, everything else. Great for him. I think Will Ospreay definitely deserves it. I think we made a very good choice here. But the reason I had the group do it that way is make it easier for them, and they voted in a landslide for Kenny Omega. So that's who the group went with. The group also went for that 205 Live team over Matt Striker and Vampiro and Tom Phillips and Corey Graves from NXT. So.
Okay. What about the ones we talked about earlier?
Matt Hardy won in a landslide for Entertainer of the Year. And what was the other one that we did, Daniel? Was it Show of the Year? Was that the one?
Yes, Show of the Year. Yes, Show of the Year.
Show of the Year was NXT TakeOver Dallas.
I don't think we talked about Show of the Year yet.
Yeah, we covered it was Wrestle Kingdom 10.
Oh, you're right. That was the last set.
Yeah, Wrestle Kingdom 10 was second, with TakeOver Dallas being in first for the group.
Okay. So I like this. A little bit of diversity. We're kind of on a different path a little bit, but not far. I mean, honestly, these were 1 and 2, and it was just a flip of a coin in some of these. I think some of them may not as close, but yeah, I mean, we're not far apart here. But I kind of like the diversity. So. That is our first 2 awards here. Our next set of awards, but we're going to move on, though. We'll do some more awards later. But right now, we really need to sit down and talk some SmackDown because we missed our show this week. We were, just a lot of crazy things this week. The beginning of the year is always tough. It's kind of crazy. But let's do it. Let's talk SmackDown right now and kind of just briefly get into a few things we liked because this was a big show. I mean, lots of title matches. And it seems like they really focused on just giving you a really, great show.
Yeah, they did. I mean, they had the wild card finals thing. They had 3 title matches, and each one of them brought something to the table. I mean, the tag title match was really good by the end, with American Alpha winning. I think you knew Alexa Bliss was going to win, especially after they spent the time to show you that she'd just gotten her plates and everything. You knew she wasn't losing. But I like the storyline. They're continuing the thing with the La Luchadora, which a lot of signs point to Deonna Purrazzo coming back to be La Luchadora, which is cool for her. That she keeps, I think it was Alexa Bliss that called her the Jane Ellsworth, that's what her role becomes, and hey, cool, why not? You need more women's wrestlers. You got Mickie James coming pretty soon. Having another one there is not bad. I think obviously Baron Corbin, Dolph, and AJ had one hell of a main event to close out 2016 for WWE on a major way. I think we've hated on Baron Corbin a lot, and and a lot of other people have as well. I think he's kind of flown under the radar, and he's actually gotten better. And he's definitely gotten better on the microphone and gotten more comfortable on the microphone that way. And the persona kind of works for him, and he's getting better in ring rise. And of course, it helps when you're in there with two great guys like Dolph and AJ. But I think we should kind of give him a little credit. And I like the way they continued that little storyline with The Miz and Renee Young and Ambrose. They didn't spend a zillion hours on it, but it was short and effective.
Yeah, I totally agree. No, that was one big thing I was looking forward to, especially since they didn't address it on Talking Smack with Renee Young and all that about the whole, Miz feud and all that. So it was nice to see it was continued on SmackDown and it wasn't just forgotten about. I appreciated that. I also thought that it was kind of, cool to see, that Baron Corbin really is growing. And, I've said a lot of bad things about him. I agree, because I just wasn't really happy with his work. I think I'm just jealous of his good looks, I mean, not everybody can have thinning hair like that and still look like Baron Corbin, right? I mean, so, I'm kidding. But anyway, no, I mean, really, honestly, he's done a good job. And I just think overall they had a lot of good stuff on it. Paul, what did you appreciate about this SmackDown?
I really enjoyed the main event. I'm not willing to jump on the Corbin bandwagon yet. He's in there with one of the best wrestlers in the world, two of the best wrestlers in the world, Dolph Ziggler and AJ Styles. And to me, I don't think he did a lot in that match that really contributed, other than, the end of days zigzag spot, which was amazing, and sort of working the beginning and taking the table spot. He didn't have to do a lot, but he was in there, so it's not like he was out there just watching like your typical triple threat formula. But AJ and Dolph, I think, absolutely tore it down there in their parts too, so I'd be willing for more of that. But the tag match I thought was good too. I don't know if I'm a giant fan of them doing the title change here, but it feels like it adds to the Wyatt angle, and I think that's the bigger story to come out of that too. I really enjoyed the beginning of the women's title match, but I thought it sort of petered out there at the end until you got the finish, which creates some intrigue to keep you coming back for more next week, which is great. And you could sort of move on to another feud for Alexa if there's one to be had out there. I think Naomi's hurt, and that was what they were sort of working with before this started taking off. So I don't really know where you go with here, because Nikki is busy with the other heels. So maybe you have Mickie James come in sooner rather than later. I don't know.
Yeah, that is interesting. I think there's a lot of potential there in that division, and I think
they could wrap up Nikki and Natalya before WrestleMania, I think, and then you could put Nikki and Alexa in there. I wouldn't be surprised if it winds up Nikki and Alexa at all, as they still see Nikki as the big name for that division.
I think Nikki wins that belt come WrestleMania. I don't know I think they're going to slow build that, though. Like, she's going to work her way through everything, working towards that. Because, like, they're doing the sort of the John Cena formula with her, where you have all these obstacles coming at you, and they're attacking you personally, and all these other things. And I think they want to do it that way.
Yeah, I could understand that. I mean, they're trying to figure out the best way to get this all taken care of. And so far, the way they're building things, I'm okay with it. I get a little bit worried about those twists and turns they're going to have come up in the near future. But, I mean, I just love the fact that you're adding some veteran talent. You're also probably going to be doing a few other things that I think will work out well. So I think this division on SmackDown is doing pretty well for herself, and we'll have to see. But overall, I mean, like I said, I mean, you had that, and of course you had the main event, which was exciting. I was just really surprised by the level of SmackDown we got. I really was. It does not shock me that this week's SmackDown beat Raw in the ratings, because it was so well done.
And they did the stuff with Cena was good too. He didn't. Yeah, he cut his typical promo, but
I disagree. Like that felt like a heel turn.
I know, but part of it was his typical promo, and then he turned it into sort of Don't want to call it a heel turn totally yet. I think it's always going to be one of those things, like, there's always going to be that contingent that hates Cena, and perhaps he is finally embracing it a bit because he knows he's not going to be around very long, so it doesn't matter anymore. And I really think that at some point, AJ is going to go back to being a face, because he's going to get turned by the crowd that obviously loves him, and they have a poll up on WWE.com, and AJ Styles is winning by a landslide as far as who they think should main event WrestleMania. AJ Styles winning 40%, and the closest guy after that, I think, is like Undertaker at 12. So, you know, it is amazing to me how much AJ Styles has been able to get himself to where he is, largely by himself. I mean, improving on his promos obviously helps, but the way that he's been booked has also been great. And, you know, perhaps you do get a double turn here where finally Cena just says, you know what, screw it. I'm gonna do all I have to do to get my 16th title reign, and if that includes cheating, I'm gonna do it, or whatever. Maybe he doesn't even win. Maybe AJ wins and he faces Undertaker. Who knows?
Yeah. No, and that's really good, thoughts here. And, the one thing I'll say about John Cena is, the way this is all shaping out, it doesn't bother me at all. You know why? Because I don't really hate John Cena as much as I used to. And it's because of, guess what? He's been away. He has not been shoved down our throats like usual. It's a little fresh. And honestly, I'm not saying that I really want to see Undertaker versus John Cena, but right now as it sits, I'm fine with it. I don't have a problem. I would have if we would have seen him every week, probably. I think this whole Roman Reigns thing, it may be changing the mindset of people now because they see John Cena no longer as that guy, and now it's kind of switched over to, hey, this is where the heat's going now, Roman Reigns. I don't know how you guys feel. I feel a lot less animosity towards John Cena now.
I think that opening promo changed my thing for, because I'm never overly excited when he's around. I'm kind of pumped for this, not only because his matches with AJ were so great, but he feels different. Just from, even if you don't call that a complete heel turn, maybe it's only like 20% if you're going to put a number on it. Like, even just acting heelish is going to be such a breath of fresh air for him that it kind of makes him interesting again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And it's also kind of interesting. We always kind of forget about the beginning of his career, where he did do, the heel thing a little bit there. And so I think John Cena is going in a better direction. Now we'll see how it does go from here. But I think right now, with him throwing in a few things that are kind of heelish and just putting it in our face and kind of making us kind of hate him a little bit, or at least in the right way, not the wrong way of hate, it's a good deal. And I think it's good for SmackDown too. It really, really is. And even if he is facing off, trying to get another championship, like I said right now, I don't have a problem with it. He's not overwhelming, so I'm okay with it, totally. Any last things about SmackDown you guys want to mention before we move on to something else here? Anything?
I'm rating wise, I gave it an 8. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm with you.
That's about where I put it, an 8 as well.
Yeah.
It's a fair number. I think that they did a lot of good things on the show, a lot of in ring work instead of just a lot of segments. Of course, SmackDown's good at that in general, but I just think they gave you more quality than quantity, and that's really good. It impresses me. So, like I said before,
it better.
So anyway, all right. Well, that is SmackDown. So let's move on and let's get into a couple more awards. And we've got some really interesting ones here for you. I'm going to give you one that I think a lot of us just couldn't help but agree on. And that is, of course, Promotion of the Year. And we give this one to New Japan. And, man, I mean, these guys have done a lot of great work. I'll say this. For all the talent that they lost this last year, they just put on some amazing shows. You guys know it better than I do because you guys have watched this a lot more. But for what I've watched this year, which is minimal, I was still impressed. Now, kind of give me your thoughts and why you decided this.
I certainly, them losing AJ and Shinsuke and Doc and Carl was thought to be a big blow, and they had not only undercard talent step up, but a lot of breakout acts this year. You look at Kenny Omega, Sean mentioned, who went from losing the junior heavyweight title to really taking the Intercontinental title up to that next level in his feud with Elgin and Tanahashi, and then winning the G1 when really nobody gave him a chance of winning the G1. I thought he would do well, but I never imagined he would win it. Not to mention the matches he put on during that dang thing, too, were absolutely incredible. And Naito, of course, and Los Ingobernables taking wrestling by storm, too. And just so many, there were very few bad shows from New Japan this year as far as the big stage goes. Some of those Road 2s might have been a little boring. They had one really bad show, too, in one of the Dontaku's shows. But just another outstanding year from New Japan, who, despite all the odds, really just came out and wowed everybody once again with what they can do.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally amazing what they were able to do in this year. Paul mentioned what Omega did. Naito basically just putting himself and LIJ on another spectrum, becoming this huge merch seller for them. Okada continuing to show his drawing power and having great matches everywhere across the board, from matches with Ishii and Naito to Murafuji, both the times he was in there with him. The Yoshihashi kind of getting somewhere. Freaking Kamaitachi coming back as Hiromu Takahashi and kind of lighting people up here at the last bit of 2016. You had Kushida be consistent all year with the juniors and Will Ospreay as well. The Young Bucks were on fire. I mean, every part, they finally got it with the junior tag teams this year that, hey, we need to give them 2-on-2 matches. I mean, all those kind of things we were complaining a lot about New Japan last year. Even hell, the Guerrillas of Destiny started having good matches, for God's sakes. So, and I'm sitting here talking about freaking Tongaloa having a good match. That's amazing. But, the thing is, when a company goes and basically course corrects and says, let's inject as much as we can that feels new and fresh about our company and making us want to watch what's happening, and being able to pretty much stay the course as far as drawing and selling out and everything that you were last year after you lose, 2 huge draws like you did in AJ and Nakamura. I mean, that is a testament to them, and they continue to put on some fantastically great matches as well.
Exactly. And, that leads us to another big award that we're going to give out. And that award is Biggest News Story of the Year. And it is that New Japan Exodus. I mean, you guys talked about it. I think it's only fitting to kind of dive into this as being the biggest news story. You guys just talked about how New Japan survived it and how they did so many great things coming out of this. But this was a big deal. This was huge when it came out because no one foresaw that maybe Nakamura could be leaving that quickly. AJ Styles himself doing so well over there. And those names, according to a lot of people, were not anything that New Japan thought was going to happen, or especially the talent that was going to be leaving. So, Sean, I mean, this was huge. It had to be the biggest news story.
Yeah, it certainly was. It won by a landslide in our group as well. WWE won Promotion of the Year, but we have to. Our group is, for all of the great things I can say about our group, that we have a lot of people that watch a lot of different stuff, and it seems like we get more people that watch a lot of different stuff all the time, or we get people converting to watching different things. It's still, very heavily WWE skewed. So, WWE's probably always going to win when it comes to these kind of things, but this is not only about. This is a twofold thing that I kind of just already talked about with. This made New Japan have to change what they do. They had to put the focus on Okada and pay the money to try to make Okada a big star and put him in all these things, put him in Tiger Mask W, put him in all these promotional outlets for him. Hiroshi Tanahashi took a lesser role, but he was still a big figure in the company. They had to push Omega. They had to push Naito. All these things that, I kind of already mentioned. And then WWE as well. I mean, AJ Styles becoming huge. I mean, huge. No, none of us thought he was going to do this. None of us. There were so many people saying, "Oh, goodbye to main events, AJ Styles. You're never going to see one again." And not only has he main evented so many damn WWE pay-per-views this year, he is the longest reigning WWE champion, basically singles champion since the brand split. And because he is so consistent, he is so good. And then, Nakamura going out there and, knocking out of the park with Sami Zayn. He hasn't put on these, classic matches in NXT after that, but he's been really doing well in NXT. And, Guns and Gals haven't been doing a whole lot, but we always knew that they were kind of going to get the short end of the stick. And for both of them to go and become the big stars in WWE and NXT, that shows again what that means, and also what it's done to WWE and how they've changed who they sign and how crazy they are about signing people.
Yeah, I mean, Sean pretty much just said it all, but to sum it up, this wins because it affected the two largest promotions in the world. Simple as that. New Japan had to change, and WWE has changed. Maybe for the better, depending, I guess, on your fan, but certainly Shinsuke and AJ have become must-see superstars in WWE, and that's because of New Japan.
Definitely. So there you go. Well, those are a couple more awards, and we got more for you guys. Don't forget, we're still doing Males Wrestler of the Year, Female Wrestler of the Year, Tag Team of the Year, and of course, Match of the Year still to come. So you got some big awards coming your way. But before we do, we've got to talk some NXT, guys, and this one was an interesting NXT. So we'll be right back with NXT right after this.
WWE Developmental NXT.
All right. NXT was the first of two house shows that WWE will be airing. This is the Japan house show from December 3rd that they decided to air. Still cut down. It's not in its entirety, but you got some good matches here. I don't think we need to just totally spend oodles of time going over and over this, but one of the matches also we already kind of covered on a regular NXT episode with the main event between Joe and Nakamura. But the thing they started out with was Andrade Cien Almas against Oni Lorcan. Andrade almost came out with the mask, as they didn't call him La Sombra, but they pointed out that he did wear a mask in his previous incarnation before coming to NXT. Oni Lorcan's done some stuff in Japan, but basically this was Almas really being a heel here, and the crowd really getting behind Lorcan at various times. Just these two went at it and had a pretty damn good match. Oni Lorcan wins with a super half Nelson suplex, which is beautiful, and freaking Almas even pulling out the damn Destino.
Yeah, we've seen Almas pull out the nice little Naito roll into his little pose that he used to do whenever he was in Los Ingobernables back in CMLL too. So there's a lot of nice little callbacks going on in here. I really enjoyed this match. I thought they worked very well together. I'd be up for some more of this to be sure. And I was surprised that Almas did not get the win here. But I think, maybe there are plans here for the formerly known as Biff Busick.
Yeah, that was a big surprise for me too. I mean, I really thought that we were going to see, almost get the win here because of the fact this is a big live event. They were probably thinking that maybe he could afford the loss, but I was kind of surprised. But a great match overall. I really had fun watching it. So at the end of the day, solid.
They might have also expected that Almas would get a bigger crowd reception than he did. And so they probably thought, okay, let's have the heels win a couple of matches here at the beginning because your faces are going to win a lot later. That's just a theory on my end. But
Almas is clearly heel. And
right, but having that history with New Japan, they probably thought, oh, maybe he's going to get a face reaction, and he kind of didn't, So after this, you kind of have your, I don't want to say, I guess you could call it the sort of worst match of the show, just because of the people involved, but it wasn't a bad match. Just it's kind of like just there. Liv Morgan and Aaliyah against Billie Kay and Peyton Royce. They worked a long face and peril segment with Aaliyah that was kind of starting to not go a whole lot of places, and eventually they got the crowd into it a bit. Liv Morgan came in, kind of ran wild for a bit, and Peyton Royce and Billie Kay got the job done with a distraction and then a big, I think it was a trip to the Billie Kay's knee, and they get the pin. So.
Yeah, not so much out of this. I mean, it was okay. It was not super great though, and I don't know. I didn't hate it. It's just one of those matches where I kind of said, okay, I get it. I get where they're going. But outside of that, nothing super spectacular from my point of view.
I'm not so into Aaliyah. I think Liv Morgan works a much better babyface than Peril, but she's also got the high energy thing working, and obviously I think she's the way that Carmella was sort of meant to be as a babyface, so I think they're kind of high on that. Billie Kay and Peyton Royce, I continue to enjoy every week, and I'm looking forward to see whenever they do pull the trigger on trying to play the numbers game on Asuka, how it sort of works out.
Yeah, and I will say this: those two are great together. They really work well. They got chemistry, if you ask me. I mean, just on the mic, I think they work well together. So, solid stuff, and I as well look forward to that stuff with Asuka.
Totally agree. Then after this, we had another very good match here for the tag team titles. DIY against Akira Tozawa and Tajiri. And yeah, I mean, I thought for the most part, I mean, I don't know of any knowledge of Tajiri and Tozawa really working together, so this was sort of neat to see. Tajiri got to kind of run wild for a bit at one point. Tozawa with those awesome Germans, as he always does, getting things going, and the high flying to the outside and all that. You knew DIY was going to win because the titles were on the line, but I thought this was a pretty damn good match, and some good near falls in there too.
I thought this was really, really good. And you're right, these two have never teamed before, to my knowledge, either. Tajiri, of course, running his own promotions and then working Wrestle One. Tozawa has been Dragon Gate for life over there in Japan, and unless they had any sort of interaction here stateside, I don't know of any other way they would have. But they worked really well together, and what you end up with here is a pretty hard-hitting match that ends up going about almost 20 minutes and is a completely enjoyable bell-to-bell. DIY is, for two guys who have never tagged before coming to WWE, they certainly knocked it out of the ballpark.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm really excited about seeing those two work together, Tajiri and Tozawa. I mean, it was fun, it was interesting, and of course DIY, I'm a huge Ciampa fan, so it's hard for me not to be biased, but I think they put on a good show here, and this match was really well perceived by me, and at the end of the day, I walked away pretty happy, so I think solid stuff from both teams.
Yeah, I wonder how long they're going to wait on Tozawa for 205 Live. We already know Tajiri's coming in next week. But it's going to be interesting to see how long they wait on Tozawa. So after this, we had a rematch of, I don't remember which NXT TakeOver this was. But was it the... Which one was the one where Asuka faced Nia Jax?
It would have had to have been the one, I think, directly after Dallas.
This is a TakeOver at the end?
Or was it... Yeah, I'm not sure if it was... I thought they went to London following Dallas.
I don't think so.
That was...
Was it not?
No.
It would be the end.
Would it be the end? Okay.
So, yes, rematch on that. They kind of sort of had the same sort of match here, including the same finish with the scream from Nia Jax and Asuka hitting her with the boot in the face. I do think that Nia Jax, you can see her getting better since having been on the main roster. She's a lot more crisp. There was, I think, the one botch that she had, I think, when she's trying to do the Samoan drop and they kind of have a miscue and Asuka has to kind of roll out of it or whatever. But other than that, I thought this was good. I thought that the original match sort of had a little bit more heat to it than this did. So perhaps that first match was better from that perspective, but this was, I think, a little bit better worked.
I agree. It was certainly longer than their match at the end. I think that got 10 minutes. This ran a little north of 15. And I completely agree with you on Nia. She looks smoother. She looked more comfortable working this than their last encounter back at the end. And that could only mean good things for Nia as she continues to grow up on the main roster. But I'd say this was probably better than their the end encounter. But I don't remember overly enjoying that one all that much.
I don't really count it as much as I probably should. But at the end of the day, I watched this match and I think to myself, okay, you have improvements going on with Nia Jax. Asuka's still Asuka, and we get a match where the talent in Nia Jax shows up, and also the fact that she's a powerhouse, and that's very well displayed here. Asuka's the kind of person that comes out to kill. And she couldn't exactly do that against, Nia Jax. So I think when you, look at this in retrospective, you come away with good stuff. Asuka still finds a way to win. And Nia Jax looks good, even though in a loss, because of the fact that, she still showed that she's a powerhouse and she can go through anybody if she really wants to, even though didn't win.
Yeah, and then you have your final match, was your NXT Championship match between the champion then, Samoa Joe, against Shinsuke Nakamura. Nakamura wins the title back here. We've seen parts of this match already. Obviously, we got to see a longer version of this, 20 minutes of it. What do you think? Do you feel better about it having been able to watch the longer version?
I mean, I put it up there with their last encounter that they had a takeover where Joe won the belt back from Shinsuke. So I enjoyed it more than what we got on NXT in the clip version for sure, just because it felt like there was more drama going on, but I don't think it surpassed any of their previous efforts.
Yeah, it wasn't overwhelmingly great compared to what we've seen in the past. I mean, yeah, sure, it's better than the shorter version of itself, but at the end of the day, I think it was definitely good, but nothing so out of the world great because of the fact that it was longer and you saw the full thing. So I totally respect it. I appreciated it, but it still doesn't really change anything, even seeing the longer version. So, but yeah, I guess that wraps up NXT for us, guys. It's really cool to see these live shows. I think it's neat that they're giving us that opportunity. Of course, we'll get the Australia show right, I believe, next week, Sean?
Yep.
All right. So you'll get a chance to check that one out. That'll be a full 2 hours as well. So it'll be a lot of fun for us to cover. But now we are going to move on from here and get into a couple more awards here. Let's start by talking non-wrestler of the year. Now, of course, non-wrestler means anyone who does not, get in the ring and actually, work a match. That could be a referee, an announcer, that could be backstage interviewer, that could be GM, or whatever it is. It just cannot be an in-ring talent. And the in-ring, not in-ring talent, the award goes to Daniel Bryan. We kind of picked this one. This was kind of controversial as well. Not all of us really completely agreed, but at the end of the day, we came to this conclusion. Sean, why did you think that Daniel Bryan deserves this award?
Just want to say the group overwhelmingly picked Paul Heyman. Obviously, he's always a solid choice. You can't go wrong with him. But I just kind of felt like, Paul Heyman, at the end of the day, Paul Heyman doesn't really change a whole lot. He's great. He is always great. And, personally, I probably would have voted for Dario Cueto, which was sort of one of the ones that were in that running as well, if I'd watched more Lucha Underground. But he's also won this award before. And, again, he's also Mr. Consistent. We know what he's going to do. We know he's great. I kind of wanted to go a different way, and I wanted to give some plaudits to Daniel Bryan for stepping into a role he's not very comfortable in, doing commentary, and doing that very well with Marvel Knowledge doing the Cruiserweight Classic, and then doing another role as a GM, which we kind of thought, oh man, maybe he's not going to be so great at this role, whatever. And he has really owned this role. He makes you want to pay attention to him when he's on SmackDown, and he makes Talking Smack such a worthwhile thing to watch every single week. I really miss him when he doesn't get to be on it, which he hasn't a couple of times. And it's such a different show when The Miz was great, and JBL's fine, but Daniel Bryan is really what makes Talking Smack churn.
Yeah, that's been my favorite thing about D-Bry being out of the ring outside of his work on the Cruiserweight Classic is him on Talking Smack, just because you had the GM relationship right there, and they make full use of that anytime a superstar comes on there. So that makes the show sort of interesting and something that you really want to watch every week.
And they make you feel like it's a work shoot kind of thing when it's on there. It's not totally in character all the time.
Right. And that certainly helps too. And the stuff with the Miz obviously went viral on the internet and everything. But I voted for Dario. He continues to be the best GM/authority figure in wrestling, and not only that, but just a supremely interesting character who continues to not only screw over the good guys, but has his fair share of getting one over on the bad guys too. And just there's not a better GM out there than Dario.
Yeah, I completely agree. You guys got it, right on both. But I picked Daniel Bryan because of part of Sean's, which was Dario Cueto. We see this guy on a regular basis. He's consistent. He's amazing. But I look at Daniel Bryan and I think to myself, okay, what did he do this year? And of course, being the GM is definitely one of them. Did a great job doing that. But, also his skills on commentary kind of put me on that other echelon of, man, this guy can do dual things, really showcase his talent, and do it very well. His commentary was great. Everything that he put into it, even, getting in the ring and hugging, Brian Kendrick, all that. It was a very emotional year for him and all that kind of stuff. So I had to go with Daniel Bryan. But, Dario Cueto definitely deserves love, too. I definitely appreciate him. All right, well, let's move on and talk about another big award. And I think the one we're going to give right now is Female Wrestler of the Year. And this one, I think a lot of our group had some interesting things to say. But who we gave it to was Io Shirai. There you go. That's the correct way of saying it. But Paul, kind of tell us about Io.
If you watch Lucha Underground, you've seen a brief glimpse of Io Shirai back during the Gauntlet match that Pentagon Jr. had with the Black Lotus Triad. She was the last one up, whose name I'm blanking on currently, but she's also, of course, she was rumored to be signing with WWE earlier, which we covered a lot, and she's been the ace of Stardom for not only this last year, but the last 2 or 3. And at the beginning of this year, she pretty much held every single championship that Stardom had to offer. and has since lost some there, but has continued to dominate with the top title. And she's had up to 8 defenses. She's been absolutely top notch the entire year, and for all the great things that WWE and Shimmer and any place else that promotes women's wrestling has done with some of their girls, I don't think anybody's been as dominant or had as many great matches this year as Io Shirai has.
Yeah, Paul said it all there. The great matches, the having the championships, the accolades, the being the 8th year promotion, which helps when it's a women's only promotion, obviously, and getting to make the guest appearances in OU as well. The group voted for Charlotte overwhelmingly. And I think the closest one after Charlotte was between Io and somebody else, and I can't remember right now for the life of me. But yeah, it might have been Becky. I'll probably find it when we're not actually covering this award right now. But I definitely wanted to make sure that we got to give an award to somebody that really deserves it, maybe somebody that's not totally on the map for everyone. Stardom does have their own streaming service, so if you want to check out more of Io's work, that's definitely... Asuka was the one who also had a terrific year, very dominant, all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, not taking anything away from Charlotte, because she had a terrific year herself, and really helping bring women's wrestling to the forefront for WWE, becoming the first women's champion, and then holding the belt for a while and all that kind of stuff. That's great. But Io has been super, super consistent, had great matches, and won everything. How can you do better than that?
Yeah, I agree. And if you ask me, I mean, it is the accomplishment. It is the the big body of work that Io does. Kind of get this award. Charlotte is a big one for, I think, a lot of the American audience, and I completely agree. And I'm sure a lot of people are like, how can I give it to Charlotte? Well rounded on the mic, of course, in the ring, and I agree with all those things. But I just think when it comes down to it, Io, just had a lot more accomplished, and I get the vote. So. There you go. We'll be getting into some more awards coming up. Of course, we still have Match of the Year. We still have Male Performer of the Year. And, of course, some other great stuff. So you don't want to miss out. But now we are going to talk some Lucha Underground. And we got a double dose for you tonight because we did not get a chance to cover it last week. So, however Paul decides he wants to kind of run this down, maybe do the other show quickly or just kind of give us an idea of what's going on, that's up to him. But we are going to do that now. Lucha Underground next.
All right, Bo.
All right, so the show that took place on the 21st is a 2-match show. Big stuff happening, storyline implication, though. They open with the Battle of the Bulls tournament final, which is an elimination match between Cage, the Mac, Jeremiah Crane, and PJ Black, which the Mac ends up winning. The order of elimination is PJ Black goes, not PJ Black, excuse me, Jeremiah Crane goes out first, then it's PJ Black, then it's Cage. And they sort of set up a little bit of a tease here, seeing a Sexy Star as challenging for the Lucha Underground title later on against Johnny Mundo, that the Mac and Sexy Star could go one-on-one against each other and the friendship testing and all that good stuff, too. This is a super fun match. It starts out pretty hot and heavy at the beginning and sort of dies out a little at the end, which is kind of unfortunate, but Willie Mack and PJ Black Cage, it goes out second. They have a great little exchange, and Mac ends up coming out of it with a big stunner. And I forgot you guys haven't watched this, so
no, it's cool. I think it's really interesting. I was just kind of caught up in the storyline here because I did miss this one, but I've been trying to catch up. And you're right, this is big to the story. I think that's kind of cool.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, they even tease it with a little backstage segment with Sexy and Mac meeting backstage where Sexy says she's so proud of him. And Mac says, that's great and all, but you really need to focus on beating Johnny tonight and don't get mad when I beat you next time for the championship. Which, of course, is not meant to be. Mundo and Sexy Star have their usual match just sort of inside a cage, which is kind of a heartbreaker. But the finish, anywhere else in Lucha Libre would have been a disqualification, but seeing it's the Lucha Underground, that doesn't really matter. But Mundo takes off Sexy Star's mask and throws it to the ground as they're both sort of trading kicks and stuff on the top of the cage. And Sexy falls off and dives on the mask to try to cover her face, and Johnny uses the distraction to climb out. The crowd was not a giant fan of that finish, as they give a loud bullshit chant before the Mac shows up at the top of the ramp and stuns Mundo. So it'll be Johnny Mundo and the Mac going forward for the Lucha Underground Championship. And to also touch on the other big thing that we need to talk about is Drago, of course, has been captured by Cobra Moon and the newcomers to the snake or reptile tribe or whatever they're going to call it. The three end up cornering Phoenix and Aerostar, who go looking for Drago in his favorite place in the temple, which is, of course, the bathroom. And you get yourself a nice big kung fu brawl with the reptile/snake tribe sort of coming out on top. And later on, you get to see Drago tied up in the Cobra Moon's little throne room area and refusing to give in to her, even though Cobra continues to say that Drago is going to be the one that beats Phoenix and Aerostar up down the line. So you got some trios title interest there. Another big issue on here, though, is Jeremiah Crane meets with Dario, and he comes in demanding a match, and he ends up getting it. But we still don't know who it's against until later. Dario is sort of flabbergasted when Crane reveals that he used to play in this temple as a kid, or in the building. He goes into the ceiling and pulls out this, what's it called? A Ouija board that's like drawn on some like driftwood or something like that. Ends up running into Katrina and shows it to her that it's something they played with as children. And Crane says he's got his match with Mil Muertes next week, and he's going to beat him up so bad that Katrina is going to come back to him, and he'll have him all to herself. So, lots of stuff happening on that episode. Not the greatest episode. Certainly, the Battle of the Bulls finale is worth your time. And I'm continually interested in what they're doing with the Snake Tribe.
Yeah, that is very interesting. I look at that as something that, just adds so much intrigue, and it also gives you something else to kind of really, wonder about when it comes to just the scope of things and how they're doing it. And I really like it. I mean, I know it sounds kind of corny for me to say that, but I like it because it has that odd but weird feeling about it, and you just don't understand exactly everything about it. So that's what kind of captures my imagination.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, I think it's pretty clear that they're going to do the turn here with Drago and everything. But this could turn out to be a nice little wrinkle, as will the next episode, because they've been shaping up this big story with Dario and then bringing a dark god back to life and all this stuff. So let's go ahead and jump to that next episode, because we get to finally see all of that at play. First up, though, Vampiro. We get the nice little recap package where you can see Vampiro bringing Puma back from the grave, and Puma ends up pledging his allegiance to him, so that he's sort of starting down a darker path. And then we get Jeremiah Crane taking on Mil Muertes. It's a 2-minute match. Crane tries to come out swinging. It's Mil, though, so he gets beat up for most of the 2 minutes that this goes before Puma comes in. He attacks him with the kendo stick and ends up bailing out of the ring. Crane catches him with a big pump kick, and then ends up getting the roll up after that. And Puma comes into the ring, flips onto the logo, but instead of bowing onto the logo, bows in the direction of Vampiro. So now the crowd at least knows where Puma stands and all this. And Crane and Muertes going to continue to have their beef. And yeah.
What do you think about Puma and Vampiro?
I think this is sort of a nice, interesting wrinkle to Puma. Obviously, I don't want to say they've done everything with him that they could as the babyface, but them wanting to keep him around the main event scene, I think this is going to be sort of necessary. And when you look at the guys who you have around the main event scene, like Emil Muertes or you need Johnny Mundo or Pentagon, seemingly. These are all guys who are willing to cheat or do very sinister things to win. And, I don't want to... White bread Puma isn't going to be able to do that, So giving him this sort of darker bent, plus it plays into the stuff with Pentagon and Vampiro from the past, that obviously Vampiro is not over what Pentagon did to him, and he's sort of building a tool of revenge here.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, and I'm not saying I'm a huge Vampiro fan, but I do like this. I like that Puma has this thing going with him. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I've read spoilers, so I know where the season is going. I will say that the Puma bent is a very nice touch and something I'm really looking forward to see how it all plays out. Because obviously you can only get so much from spoilers. But moving on, a mystery guy meets with Sexy Star, who's a big Johnny Mundo fan, and sort of mocks Sexy for losing to him so many times. But he gives him a box, or gives her a box, that he found in catering, that has her name on it, and sort of that serial killer newspaper cutout sort of thing that you see in movies all the time. And it has a spider in it, which we've seen before. Freaks her out. She ends up going to Dario later on in the episode, and wants a match. She still thinks it's she still thinks it's Mariposa, and wants a match with her. So that will happen next week, along with Mac challenging Mundo for the championship. And then we get into Angelico and Son of Havoc teaming up to take on PJ Black and Jack Evans as Angelico continues to try to get revenge on the Worldwide Underground. They do end up winning this one. Or they end up losing this one, as Angelico ends up dislocating his elbow during the match and gets taken away, and Son of Havoc gets left alone and ends up losing. So Angelico, back maybe 3 weeks, already back out on the injury list.
Wow.
Yeah, really, really sucks.
That does. And, you hate the momentum being changed here, but, that's what happens.
Then we get to the match 4 of the Best of 5 series between Cage and Tejano. Of course, this is for Dario Cueto's ultimate opportunity that he's teased in front of them. We, as the watchers, know that it's to become the human vessel for some dark god that they're trying to bring back. That Councilman Delgado has brought to Dario, as they're all in cahoots and everything. And Tejano ends up sort of winning this one after going on a bit of a run on Cage in about 2 minutes. It's very meh. Dario, however, is so hyped about this ultimate opportunity that they're going to do match 5 right now. And these guys go on an entire temple-wide brawl. It's super awesome. They fight in the crowd. Cage gets busted open early on by getting hit with an exposed turnbuckle and just keep bleeding real bad. Tejano, of course, bites at him, claws at him, does all this mean stuff to him. However, Cage ends up beating him with a frickin' Steiner screwdriver, which is super, that's how you know somebody's dying, is that they're taking a Steiner screwdriver. Cage ends up winning the series. Dario comes out to congratulate him and says he can't give him his prize because the believers will not understand, and they're not really good enough, honestly, which gets him a whole bunch of heat. So they go into his office. Dario has him open the chest. Cage looks inside and is sort of miffed. It's this gauntlet. And Cage says he's not into Renaissance festivals, which got a chuckle out of me. And Dario says, all right, you don't want it. Just put it on. And so, of course, Cage does. And then he ends up choking Dario out with it. Cage is now the vessel for some absolutely dark Aztec deity who's going to go on a murdering spree, I'm assuming. And that's how we end the episode. Dun, dun, dun.
That is awesome. Now that's a way to end of an episode, and to have this whole deity take over Cage, I think that's really cool because he's a dominating force already. So just add on something like the spirit of Charles Lee Ray. Oh man, I mean that's terrifying, and I'm guessing this dark god that be called down. I just hope it's not Canadian. So. But yeah, this is cool. I mean, I think this is a great way to end the show, and man, it makes me really now want to know what's going to happen next. I think this is great. So, Lucha Underground, I mean, they're hitting stride here, and I think that these shows will continue. They don't have a break at all, do they? Through the spring?
No, they're going to keep on trucking. I think all the way up to the finish line.
Wow, that's awesome. So you don't have to worry about missing a beat, anyone. I mean, you get a full slate of great shows. So, all right. Well, that is Lucha Underground for this week. Thank you, Paul, for giving us all the info. And now we are going to move on, though, and we're going to give you a couple more awards. And these awards are getting better and better. And one of the awards that we're about to give you right now is Tag Team of the Year. And, of course, we all chose the Revival. That's right. I mean, this has been a major tag team, a tag team that has been super impressive. Paul, I mean, I just really, really love the Revival. Kind of give us your ideas about them.
Man, I don't know if I can say enough good things about the Revival. And you see, I mean, the Young Bucks, obviously another contender for this, too. They had another great year. But the Revival, I think, really brought back tag team wrestling to the WWE and to a mainstream audience, which I think you have to give a huge nod for. First ever 2-time NXT Tag Team Champions, which they achieved this year. And every time the bright lights were on them, whether it's a takeover special or just a big match, these guys absolutely delivered, whether it was American Alpha, DIY, squash tag teams. Just they went out there, and their promo ability was so good, and their feud with DIY was at one of the best of the year, and you can't say enough great things about them. They're such a great tag team, and I hope they go out and have a better year next year on whether that's still in the NXT or the main roster. Please come to SmackDown, Revival. Just please come to SmackDown.
I personally think they might work better on Raw with some of those more star teams. That you have a direct contrast with them because they're just, no frills. We're just going to punch in the mouth. And their promo quality also helps a lot for what Raw is over there. But the Revival won in a landslide, and I'm talking about big discrepancy over the Young Bucks, and DIY almost beat the Young Bucks. And New Day comes in right under them in fourth. So that tells you right there what a impact the Revival did and made on this scene. I mean, Strong BJ were pretty good as well this year. They were super, super consistently great. But, I mean, honestly, the Revival having those matches with DIY, the match with American Alpha, match with TM61 that was pretty good too. I mean, just anything these guys touch is great. Yeah, do they not get? They haven't had to wrestle like some total jobbers or whatever and try to get a big match out of them. But you know what? Hey, you can only wrestle who you're given. And every time they had to go out there and put on a big match on a big that's the thing, they deliver on the big stages. And that takes a little bit of gumption too. That's not just great. You can go deliver on an episode of NXT, but when it comes to these takeover specials, these guys deliver. You know you're going to get something great out of them, and that matters at the end of the day. And when you have two match of the year contending matches, that says a lot. And yeah, the Young Bucks have them too. But I definitely think this is a year of the Revival. When they say they're the best tag team on the planet, they deserve to call themselves that.
Oh, for sure. I mean, it just overwhelmingly impressive this year. And I think that these guys definitely deserve all the praise that they can get. So, there you go. All right, you have another award, and this is an interesting one because I know a lot of people are kind of curious who we chose for this one. It is Male Wrestler of the Year. And the guy that we chose that deserved it most of all, AJ Styles. And Sean, I mean, he's definitely impressive. You talked about him earlier because of not only his, coming from New Japan, but just having an excellent year.
I also want to point out the Revival were second for Breakout Wrestler Tag Team of the Year. So, more plaudits for the Revival. Right under Kenny Omega, the Revival were second. So, yeah, I mean, look, you could give this to several people. You give it to Chris Hero for all the great stuff he's done on the indie scene. You can give it to Kenny Omega, who got second for us, for the group. You could definitely give it to Okada for all his great matches and for drawing for New Japan. Will Ospreay. There's several people. Naito for all the stuff he did as well. But AJ Styles, what he was able to do, and AJ won in an absolute running away. Not even close was anybody here in the group. But just, I already talked about him before. This guy has just gotten on the WWE TV, and yeah, he had a little bit of stumble with Jericho there, but after WrestleMania, he was absolutely just on fire, and it didn't stop. I don't know what else. What else do you want AJ to do, man? He just defied everything.
Co-main evented Wrestle Kingdom, wrestled at WrestleMania in the same year. Credible debut at the Royal Rumble. Great matches with Roman Reigns, John Cena, Sami Zayn, a wet paper bag, a broomstick.
Dean Ambrose.
Random guy in the front row. Random girl in the front row. Like, what didn't AJ Styles do this year? I would compare his first year in the WWE right up there with what Kurt Angle did during his first year. Absolutely incredible. All glory to AJ Styles.
Yeah, and one accomplishment that Paul did not announce, and maybe his most important, he beat James Ellsworth.
Oh, yeah, he did finally do that.
Yeah, so that was difficult.
I mean, honestly, I think when WWE says he had the best first year of anybody, this is one of those times where they're not over-exaggerating. So,
yeah,
I think only Del Rio and Kurt Angle, I think you could put in that conversation of the first years that they had, and just to me, what matters is what he has been able to do for that SmackDown brand. Yeah, Cena plays a huge part in that. Let's not mistake that there. But what AJ has been able to do, improve on his promos, and again be the longest reigning singles champion in WWE with that WWE championship, which that is a championship that matters at the end of the day. You can say what you want about, that Universal title on Raw. Look how much they don't care about it. Look how they're treating Kevin Owens. Look how they treat AJ Styles. Much differently.
Definitely so. So, AJ Styles is definitely deserving of this award. And of course, that'll leave us with one award left of the night, and that is Match of the Year. But we're going to make you wait a little longer for Match of the Year. So hold your horses. We're got a few more things we're going to award, and that is, of course, what we do every week, and that is Superstar of the Week. So when we get back, we'll give you that and our Superstar of the Year as well. So we'll be right back with it all.
Superstar of the Week.
All
right, let's do this thing. Okay, so this week we had some really interesting picks here. But number one point, and of course the guy that got deserving point, Cage.
Yeah, Cage wins the best of 5 series. He wins that fancy gauntlet, possession of a Dark God now. And I'm just super excited to see where he goes. And that match with Tejano was incredible. Absolutely worth anybody's time.
2 points has to go to Alexa Bliss.
Yeah, Alexa Bliss defending her title against Becky Lynch. Almost lost it. But the distraction sort of worked in Alexa's favor, and she won. after doing a heck of a sell job on that arm, by the way. That was pretty wicked. But yeah, Alexa Bliss.
We got 3 points going to Roman Reigns.
Roman Reigns defended and retained the U.S. Championship against Kevin Owens on Raw this week in a pretty solid main event. I mean, say what you will, and I think that's the first time he's defended that belt in quite a while too. But still worth some points there.
4 points is going over to American Alpha.
Yeah, the match got better as it went on. American Alpha winning their first SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Hey, people talk about the women crying a lot. What did you think about Mr. Jason Jordan crying there?
Yeah, he is so emotional. You gotta love it. I mean,
he's from that area, so close to there, I think. If I'm not mistaken.
Oh, it's very cool, and he just, he lets it all out when he, does something great. And that's cool. I don't have a problem with it at all.
Channeling Kurt Angle.
Yeah, there you go. And maybe that's...
it's like, I don't understand this. Like, I get it, the women crying, whatever. I get the people kind of get upset about that, But, like, for people that complain about, this company has so many people that never show any emotion. You don't get real emotion out of the wrestlers here. But when they show real emotion, everybody complains. So, what the hell? You can't win.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? I think it's appreciated to an extent. I mean, maybe if it's overdone, I get it. But it also kind of gives you some, like, oh man, I mean, this really matters to this guy, or whoever it is who's crying. It shows you that they have raw emotion, and I like that. I don't have a problem as long as it's not all the time. Now, if he's crying over every little thing, then maybe not. But I am so happy for American Alpha. Good job. And we got 5 points in our Superstar of the Week going to AJ Styles.
Yeah, defends the World Heavyweight Championship on SmackDown, that triple threat against Dolph Ziggler and Baron Corbin. Looks set to take on John Cena at the Rumble. And as great as their last matches can be, I have high hopes for what they're going to do there, too. So hats off to AJ. Another 5 points well earned for that guy.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, and I'm not sure, you guys forgive me if we did figure this out, but we also have to pick a Superstar of the Month. I'm not sure, did we figure out who that was?
AJ Styles wins that. He had 10 across the entire month, easily running away with it. I think the next person behind him was Cesaro and Sheamus at 6.
Oh, wow. So lots of love for AJ because guess what? Match of the month goes to AJ Styles facing off against Dean Ambrose at TLC. So lots of AJ love here tonight.
No complaints there. They had a tremendous match. I think the only other one that we had sort of in consideration was the Io Shirai and Mayu Iwatani match, which, look, I know there's a lot of people that are going to say, oh, that match was better, and I would totally agree from a certain perspective, but hey, this is a 3-person thing, and it's not like Ambrose and AJ was too far away from that.
Yeah, totally. So, good stuff coming out this week, and of course, that'll take us down to our, I know we have a Superstar of the Year we need to announce, so let's go ahead and do that before I do our last award for W2M.
First ever Superstar of the Year.
Yeah, first ever. You're right. This is, of course, something that's really exciting because we have not done this numbers thing, and the numbers spell out one name, and they total up to be Jay Lethal. He is our Superstar of the Year. Wow, Paul. I mean, it kind of took me by surprise. I thought Matanza was going to win.
Matanza wasn't too far behind him at 39, and then with AJ, all the AJ love this week, as well as him winning Superstar of the Month, jumped him ahead of Matt Hardy for 3rd at 36. You got Matt Hardy in 4th at 34, and Drew Galloway is at 5th with 32, and Kenny Omega's right behind him at 29. Highest earning tag team was the New Day with 15. Highest earning woman was Charlotte with 13. Revival and Young Bucks tied at 12. Sexy Star at 9. Sasha Banks at 8. Really, Jay Lethal wins this because really for the first 8 months of this year, he held that championship well. He defended it often. And, I mean, say whatever you will about the booking for Ring of Honor, but his matches, every time he defended that championship, were usually good to hella fantastic. And I'm a big Jay Lethal Mark too, so that probably played into this some too.
No, I mean, it's fine. And, I'm right there with you. Jay Lethal just had, especially earlier in the year, just an excellent run. And did such a great job, and you got to give him love and credit for all that he did. And even towards the end of this thing, end of the year, even without the title, he's done such an excellent job. So much love goes to Jay Lethal, definitely deserving of Superstar of the Year. So I'm very, very happy with that.
I mean, definitely deserving of it. I think, this is the first time we're doing this as far as tabulating it throughout the year. So we kind of made this sort of title-centric, and perhaps, that's something that we need to tweak for next year as far as, okay, maybe we need to look at the quality, not so much the kayfabe winning of titles here, but those do matter. They are great tiebreakers when you have other things, and, what's going to be cool is next year, this is going to now be part of the website, W2Mnet.com, so this will now branch out. You saw some of this a little bit sometimes, like I just mentioned. You had the Shirai match. We had a Dragon Gate match. Get some guys some points at one point, but you will probably see us branch out away from the things we only cover on the podcast to more open, global things. So that'll help this be a better, more well-rounded thing next year, hopefully. So
yeah, we're always looking to improve, expand, and do you a great service. Anyone listening, has their favorite promotions, has their favorite style of wrestling, and we try to cover it all, and we really, really do. And so the website's going to give us that even greater opportunity to do that for you. And, like I said, if you have any suggestions, anything you guys want to throw our way, please hit us up. I mean, you can always get on the Facebook group, hit us up, message us there. We have plenty of ways you can get in contact with us. So just let us know what you want, and hopefully we can help you guys out. All right, well, we have one award left to do tonight, and that is Match of the Year. And this is a really interesting one because, trust me, there were some 5-star matches on this list of ours that really deserved consideration. They all really kind of tripped us up a little bit because we were really having to debate this and really boil down to what we thought deserved what. At the end of the day, we chose one, and that is Okada versus Ishii at the G1 Night 13. And you guys, you guys cover the G1 pretty heavily. Paul, give me your thoughts on why this deserved what it is, did.
Okada and Ishii came out of nowhere with this and absolutely stole the show. From the second the bell rang, these guys went out there and beat the living bejesus out of each other. Ishii getting the big surprise win, I think, is one of the most shocking things out of that G1, and it's something that New Japan has yet to follow up on, and something I really hope they do this coming year, with Ishii maybe getting an IWGP heavyweight title shot down the line.
I love that Omega mentioned that, too. It's like, I'll give it to him if Okada doesn't. This is great.
Which, give me that match. I'll watch that all day.
Not going to complain either way, whether we get the rematch or with Omega. Next week, we're going to have to do it on the Monday show. That's something you can already look forward to, the Monday show. Wrestle Kingdom 11 preview, breakdown, everything. We're going to, I will hand out when I get off work tomorrow, all the stuff for us to start getting ready on the round table, and we'll probably have that out by Monday or Tuesday. They're probably going to try to get it out Monday. Sucks the holiday is over the weekend here, but that's kind of what happens sometimes. But yeah, so excited. Wednesday morning we're going to be just amped for Wrestle Kingdom 11, and this match was. I watched this at work. In the Little Caesars cafeteria, and I was trying to hold back my screams that I wanted to yell out loud of how great this match was. I immediately said 5 stars. Just great stuff. Like these two, Ishii giving Okada everything, and at points it looked like Okada was going to win, and Ishii getting that big win. It's just, it was great. So look, there's so many matches that could have been match of the year. You could make a list. Hey, we're trying to make a top 50 matches right now to kind of put out next week, and so many of those matches that are going to be on that list could be match of the year, and it's amazing to me how great 2016 has been for wrestling, and hopefully, next year continues that trend with so many things available to us to watch.
And the group picked Shinsuke and Sami Zayn from NXT Dallas, didn't they? Match of the year.
Yes, they did. Yes. Which,
that's another 5-star match right there.
Right, and Gary and I were there live to watch it, so a little bit of bias there, but we all said it again when we watched it on the tape. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like I said, this was a difficult, choice to make, and I still contend that DIY and the Revival and their big match that was amazing.
That was near the top as well.
5 stars there too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
it was tough, but we broke it down and found our one, and that's fine. We appreciate everybody who kind of chimed in and gave us what you thought and who deserved what on our Facebook group. Of course, lots of great opinions over there. So if you're not a part of that group, you need to go join, because you can add your voice to the conversation. And for those that did, we really appreciate it, and you guys did a great job. So, but yeah, I mean, that pretty much wraps up the W2M awards this year. Man, like these two guys just told you, a big year. A lot of great things went down this last year. And 2017, we are hoping to have an even bigger and better one. And then, of course, that all starts at Wrestle Kingdom 11. So we are excited about covering that.
I can't believe we're already talking about next year. Yes.
I know. It's crazy. But, man, it's happened so fast. 2016 flew. And, it's for some it's good. For some, it's kind of sad. So,
right.
But yeah, I mean, here we go. We are looking forward to having a big 2017 here at Wrestling to the Max. We want to improve on our show, and we do this every year. We usually have a meeting, and we've already kind of discussed it, and we'll probably have a little bit of meetings here and there of how we can improve this podcast to best serve you. And we've already made some changes during 2016. There will probably be some more changes in 2017. But we want to best serve you and help you, get the best content that you want from us. So if you have any changes in mind, this is the perfect time to hit us up. Say, I love when you guys did this, or I really didn't like when you guys did that. Just give us an idea of what you really like. We appreciate it. And also, we kind of got away from saying this, but go rate and review. If you go do that and you send us a review that, what you like, don't like, that gives us an idea of what to do in the future. So that's the only way your voice is going to be heard. It's the only way we're going to hear you. So go do that if you haven't done that yet, and we appreciate everyone that already has done that. Once again, W2Mnet.com. Go check it out. Sean just told you we're going to have the 50 best matches of 2016. We're going to have some other great end of the year stuff. You don't want to miss a minute of it.
Games of 2016. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, right there. So lots of great content. You don't want to miss it. Once again, W2Mnet.com. Also, go subscribe if you haven't at the W2M Network. Of course, that gives you all our content right away on your device of choice. But man, we once again appreciate everybody for coming and checking us out. Please be safe this holiday weekend. Make sure your New Year's is special, but don't put your life or anyone else's life at risk. If you do decide to have some drinks, make sure you're safe and smart, and we'll hope to do the same. But for myself, for Mr. Sean Garmer and Paul Leeser, if you're not living life to the max,
not living life at all,
you know it.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Later.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.